Welcome back, Coinology. Imagine holding a simple 1-cent coin in the palm of your hand, a coin so ordinary that most people would barely give it a second glance, yet hidden within its copper-colored surface could be a story worth thousands of dollars. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 2018 Lincoln cent, a modern coin that at first looks like just another penny but has captured the attention of collectors across the United States and beyond. This is not just a story about metal and minting, it is a story about history, precision, rarity, and the thrilling possibility that a single coin could transform loose pocket change into a remarkable financial discovery. The 2018 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the United States. When you see the small D mint mark located just beneath the date on the obverse side of the coin, you are looking at a symbol that represents over a century of minting excellence in the Rocky Mountains. The Denver Mint began producing coins in 1906, and since then it has manufactured billions upon billions of coins for circulation. Yet even with such enormous production numbers, certain coins manage to stand out due to condition, minting anomalies, or collector demand. Let's begin with the physical details of this coin, because every serious collector knows that understanding the technical specifications is the first step toward recognizing value. The 2018 Lincoln cent weighs exactly 2.5 grams. This weight has been standard for U.S. pennies since 1982, when the composition shifted away from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc structure. While older pennies were made from about 95% copper, modern cents like the 2018 consist of 97.5% zinc with a thin outer coating of copper that gives the coin its classic reddish appearance. Despite containing less copper than its predecessors, the coin maintains the traditional look Americans have recognized for generations. The diameter measures 19.05 millimeters, and the thickness is approximately 1.52 millimeters. Its edge is plain, lacking the reeded texture seen on dimes and quarters. That smooth edge is one of the defining characteristics of the Lincoln cent. Now take a closer look at the design. On the front, or obverse, you will see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This iconic image was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner and first appeared on the penny in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Remarkably, this makes the Lincoln cent the longest-running design in American coinage history. Lincoln faces to the right, his expression calm yet resolute. Above his head is the word liberty, a powerful symbol embedded deeply in American culture. To the right is the date, 2018, and just beneath it sits that crucial D mint mark. The phrase, "In God We Trust," arches across the top, reflecting a motto that has appeared on U.S. coins since the Civil War era. If you look very carefully near Lincoln's shoulder, you might spot the tiny initials VDB, honoring Brenner. These initials caused controversy when the coin first debuted in 1909 because some critics believed they were too prominent. Today, however, they are a celebrated part of numismatic history. Turn the coin over, and the reverse reveals the Union Shield design, a relatively modern addition that was introduced in 2010. The shield represents Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single nation. 13 vertical stripes symbolize the original colonies, bound together by a horizontal bar at the top bearing the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Above the shield are the words United States of America, and below it reads 1 cent. The design communicates strength, unity, and resilience, values closely tied to Lincoln's legacy. Now, you might be wondering how a coin with millions minted could ever be worth serious money. After all, the Denver Mint produced well over 5 billion pennies in 2018. That is a staggering number. But here is where the world of coin collecting becomes exciting, because rarity is not always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it is about how many survive in exceptional condition. Most 2018 pennies entered circulation immediately. They passed through vending machines, cash registers, piggy banks, and countless pockets. Over time, these coins collected scratches, dents, discoloration, and wear. Finding one in flawless condition is far more difficult than you might think. Collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor, P1, all the way to mint state, MS70. A coin graded MS70 is considered absolutely perfect, no visible marks even under magnification. Achieving this grade is extraordinarily rare for circulation coins. When a 2018 penny is discovered in near-perfect condition, especially with blazing original red luster, its value can skyrocket. While most examples are worth only 1 cent, high-grade specimens graded MS68 or higher can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Now let's talk about the idea of a penny being worth $240,000. That number might sound unbelievable, but in the coin world, extreme prices are often tied to unique circumstances, particularly mint errors. Mint errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process. These mistakes are not supposed to happen, yet when they do, collectors become intensely interested because each error is essentially a one-of-a-kind artifact. Imagine a penny struck on the wrong metal planchet, perhaps intended for a dime or even a foreign coin. Picture a dramatic double strike where the design appears layered or ghosted. Consider an off-center strike where part of the image is missing. These types of errors transform ordinary coins into legendary finds. There have been modern pennies that sold for astonishing amounts due to rare minting mistakes. If a 2018 D penny were discovered with a spectacular, previously unknown error in pristine condition, it could theoretically reach extremely high values in a competitive auction environment. Another factor that drives price is collector psychology. Coin collecting is not just about metal, it is about the thrill of ownership, the prestige of rarity, and the deep connection to history. When two determined collectors both want the same unique coin, bidding wars can erupt, pushing prices far beyond expectations, but beyond potential financial value. The 2018 D penny represents something even more meaningful: continuity. For over a century, Americans have used the Lincoln cent in everyday transactions. It has witnessed economic booms, recessions, wars, technological revolutions, and cultural shifts. Think about how many hands a single penny might pass through. It could travel across multiple states, be dropped on a sidewalk, rediscovered by a child, saved in a jar, rolled at a bank, and shipped across the country again. Each coin carries invisible stories. The Denver Mint itself is a marvel of engineering. Massive presses strike coins at incredible speeds, applying tons of pressure to imprint the design onto blank planchets. Quality control systems inspect coins, yet with billions produced, tiny variations are inevitable, and those variations are exactly what collectors search for. Shiny red pennies are particularly prized. When a coin leaves the mint, it glows with a vibrant copper color known as red. Over time, exposure to air causes oxidation, gradually turning the surface brown. Coins that retain their original red tone are much scarcer than those that have darkened. Collectors often categorize copper coins as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN. A full red 2018 D penny in ultra-high grade is far more desirable than a circulated brown example. Let's pause for a moment and imagine the excitement of searching through rolls of pennies. Many collectors purchase bank-wrapped rolls and carefully inspect each coin under bright light. It is a slow, patient process, but every collector knows that treasure can appear when least expected. Some people have discovered valuable coins in pocket change, garage sales, inherited collections, and even supermarket tills. Stories like these fuel the dream that anyone could stumble upon a fortune disguised as a penny. Another reason modern coins like the 2018 D are gaining attention is generational collecting. Younger collectors often begin with coins they can still find in circulation. Over time, as high-grade examples become harder to locate, demand increases. As we continue deeper into the remarkable story of the 2018 D Lincoln cent, it becomes even clearer that the true magic of coin collecting lies not just in what we see on the surface, but in the microscopic details that most people overlook every single day. Somewhere, perhaps right now, a nearly perfect 2018 D penny could be resting unnoticed in a jar, tucked inside a drawer, or mixed into a handful of change, waiting patiently for someone observant enough to recognize its importance. Let's go further into what truly separates an ordinary penny from one that collectors might fight over. When coins are struck at the Denver Mint, the process begins with blank metal discs known as planchets. These planchets are carefully manufactured to meet strict weight and composition standards before they ever reach the striking chamber. Once inside the press, tremendous force, often exceeding 30 tons, pushes the dies into the metal, permanently imprinting the design. But here is something many people don't realize: no two coins are ever completely identical. Even when struck seconds apart, tiny differences can occur. Pressure variations, die wear, temperature changes, and microscopic debris can all influence the final appearance of a coin. Most of these differences are too subtle for the average person to detect, yet experienced collectors train their eyes to spot them immediately. One of the first things serious collectors examine on a 2018 D penny is the luster. Mint luster is that radiant glow you see when light rolls across the coin's surface. It is created by the flow of metal during the striking process, forming delicate lines that reflect light in a distinctive pattern. If that luster remains uninterrupted, meaning no scratches, dull patches, or friction, the coin immediately stands in a higher category. And now imagine a coin that looks as if it was struck just moments ago, even years later. No fingerprints. No bag marks. No discoloration. Just blazing red brilliance. That is the kind of coin that grading companies pay extremely close attention to. Another detail experts study is strike quality. On Lincoln Sense, certain areas tend to reveal strike strength better than others. Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and hair above the ear should appear crisp and well-defined. Weak strikes can make these features look flat. On the reverse, inspect the lines within the Union Shield. Strong strikes produce bold, separated lines, while weaker ones may show slight blending. These nuances might sound minor, but in the grading world, they can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth thousands. Now let's step into the fascinating realm of mint errors, the hidden universe where modern coins sometimes become legendary. Picture a double die error. This happens when the die itself receives a duplicated impression during manufacturing. The result? Letters and numbers that appear slightly doubled, almost as if vibrating. Under magnification, the effect can be stunning. Collectors absolutely love dramatic doubling because it is impossible to fake convincingly. Then there are off-center strikes. If the planchet is not perfectly aligned when struck, part of the design may be missing, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area. The more dramatic the misalignment, while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin often becomes. Another thrilling possibility is a clipped planchet. This occurs when the blank metal sheet overlaps during punching, creating a coin with a curved bite missing from its edge. These errors are instantly recognizable and highly collectible, but perhaps the most electrifying discovery would be a wrong planchet strike. Imagine a 2018 D penny accidentally struck on a dime blank or even a foreign coin blank. The size, color, and weight would immediately feel different. Such pieces can command astonishing prices because they represent mistakes that slipped past multiple layers of quality control. When collectors dream about a penny reaching values like $240,000, it is usually tied to one of these extraordinary scenarios combined with pristine preservation. Let's talk about preservation for a moment, because time is both a friend and an enemy to coins. Copper reacts to its environment. Humidity, temperature fluctuations, and airborne chemicals can all trigger toning, a natural color change that shifts the coin from bright red toward shades of brown. While some toning can be beautiful, especially if it forms rainbow hues, most collectors prefer the original mint red for modern sense. That means the number of fully red 2018 D pennies will likely shrink as decades pass. Think ahead 40 or 50 years. Many of these coins will have circulated extensively. Others will have been lost, damaged, or corroded. Only a small population may survive in elite condition. Scarcity grows quietly over time, and markets often reward patience. History has shown this pattern repeatedly. Coins once considered too common to save later became prized collectibles simply because hardly anyone preserved them carefully. And now imagine future collectors searching desperately for flawless early 21st century coins. The idea suddenly doesn't sound so far-fetched. Another powerful driver of value is population data. Professional grading companies maintain census reports showing how many coins exist at each grade level. If only a handful of 2018 D pennies achieve an ultra-high grade, competition can intensify dramatically. Collectors love low population numbers because they signal exclusivity. Owning one of only 5 or 10 top-graded examples in the world carries enormous prestige. Let's also consider the psychological aspect of modern rarity. Many people assume older coins are automatically more valuable, but that is not always true. Sometimes modern coins in perfect condition are far rarer than century-old coins that were widely saved. During the early 1900s, people often set aside fresh coins as keepsakes. Today, most pennies are ignored. Ironically, that indifference can create future treasures. Now picture the journey of a single 2018 D penny from birth to discovery. It begins as molten metal, refined and rolled into sheets. Blanks are punched. Edges are smooth. The coin is struck with explosive force, inspected, counted, and shipped out in bulk bags. From there, it enters the chaotic rhythm of commerce, grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, vending machines. Maybe it ends up in someone's change after buying a cup of coffee. Maybe it gets tossed into a jar and forgotten. Years pass. Then one day, a collector opens the jar and notices something unusual. The coin gleams brighter than the rest. Closer inspection reveals immaculate surfaces. No marks. A perfect survivor hiding in plain sight. Moments like that are what collectors live for. Let's dive deeper into the artistry behind the Union Shield, because its symbolism often goes underappreciated. The shield is not merely decorative, it reflects the constitutional framework of the United States. The vertical stripes represent individual states working together, while the top bar signifies federal unity. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War preserved that unity, making the shield a fitting tribute. Coins often serve as miniature monuments, small enough to fit in a pocket yet powerful enough to carry national ideals across generations. Now consider technological advancements in minting. Modern presses achieve extraordinary consistency, but that precision paradoxically makes flawless coins harder to find. Why? Because even microscopic imperfections stand out more clearly when standards are so high. Collectors today use powerful magnification, digital microscopes, and specialized lighting to evaluate coins. What once went unnoticed is now instantly scrutinized. This level of analysis transforms coin collecting into both an art and a science. Let's talk about demand curves. When a coin gains media attention, perhaps due to a record-breaking sale, interest can surge overnight. New collectors enter the market, hoping to find similar treasures. Suddenly, coins that were once overlooked begin disappearing from circulation as people start checking their change. Supply tightens, excitement builds, prices respond. Could the 2018 D penny someday experience such a spotlight moment? It is impossible to predict with certainty, yet the numismatic world thrives on surprises. After all, many legendary coins were once dismissed as ordinary. Another factor worth understanding is eye appeal, a somewhat subjective but incredibly important quality. Two coins with identical grades might sell for very different prices if one simply looks more beautiful. As we move even further into the incredible world of the 2018 D Lincoln cent, it is time to explore the deeper forces that quietly shape the value of coins, forces that many people never think about, yet they determine whether a simple penny remains worth 1 cent or rises into the realm of serious money. Because the truth is, coin value is never created by just one factor. It is the result of rarity, condition, timing, collector behavior, historical importance, and sometimes pure luck, all converging at the perfect moment. Let's begin by talking about circulation life, because the journey a coin takes after leaving the mint plays a massive role in its long-term survival. When the 2018 D pennies were first released, they entered a world that increasingly relied on digital payments. Credit cards, mobile wallets, and contactless transactions were already reducing the amount of physical cash changing hands. That shift created an interesting paradox. Fewer people actively used coins, yet fewer people bothered to preserve them properly. Many pennies were dumped into jars without a second thought. Others were exposed to moisture in basements, forgotten in cars where temperatures fluctuated wildly, or scraped against harder metals inside pockets. Every tiny moment of neglect slowly erased the original mint brilliance. Now imagine a coin that somehow escaped all of that. Perhaps it was pulled directly from a bankroll by a careful collector. Maybe it was placed immediately into a protective holder. Or possibly it sat untouched in an original mint-wrapped roll for years, shielded from air and friction. Coins like that become time capsules. When such a piece finally emerges decades later, it can look shockingly fresh, almost as if it traveled through time without aging. Collectors call these coins sleepers, because they remain hidden until rediscovered, and when sleepers awaken, the market pays attention. Now let's talk about something extremely important that many beginners misunderstand. Mintage numbers do not always equal availability. Yes, billions of 2018 D pennies were struck, but what truly matters is how many survive in elite condition. Think of it this way: if 10 billion coins exist but only 50 are nearly perfect, collectors are going to chase those 50 with intense determination. Condition scarcity often beats age scarcity. Another fascinating layer is the concept of registry sets. Advanced collectors compete to assemble the highest graded sets of coins for each date and mint mark. These registries are publicly ranked, turning coin collecting into something almost like a competitive sport. Imagine being ranked number 2 in the world, and knowing that acquiring just one superior 2018 D penny could push you into first place. Would you hesitate to bid aggressively? Probably not. This competitive energy can drive prices far beyond typical expectations. Now let's step into the microscopic world again, because some of the most valuable coins reveal their secrets only under magnification. Experts often search for die cracks, tiny raised lines caused when a die begins to fracture after repeated use. While small cracks are fairly common, dramatic ones can make a coin visually unique. Then there are die chips, where a fragment of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin. Some collectors adore these because they act almost like fingerprints, proving the coin came from a specific moment in the die's lifespan. Another phenomenon is die polish lines, faint streaks created when mint workers polish a die to extend its usability. Under angled light, these lines shimmer across the surface, adding character to the coin. To the untrained eye, these might look like imperfections, but to collectors, they are clues that tell the story of how the coin was born. Now imagine discovering a 2018 D penny that combines multiple desirable traits: razor-sharp strike, blazing red color, near-perfect surfaces, and a distinctive mint error never widely documented before. That is the kind of coin that can ignite headlines, but value is not only about physical attributes, perception matters just as much. If influential collectors begin discussing a coin, writing about it, showcasing it at conventions, or featuring it in auctions, attention snowballs. The coin transitions from obscure to famous within the hobby. Fame creates demand, demand creates competition, competition creates price acceleration. This is how legends are born in numismatics. Let's shift our focus briefly to the emotional side of coin collecting, because it is often underestimated. Many collectors remember the exact moment they found their first unusual coin, the excitement, the disbelief, the rush of possibility. That emotional spark keeps them searching for years. The 2018 D penny has the advantage of being modern enough that people still encounter it regularly, yet old enough that pristine examples are already becoming harder to locate. That balance is powerful. Too new, and nobody cares yet; too old, and most discoveries have already been made. But coins in this middle zone, they hold enormous potential. Now picture the year 2045 or 2055. By then, countless 2018 D pennies will have vanished from circulation entirely. Some will be melted accidentally with scrap metal. Others will corrode beyond recognition. Many will simply disappear into landfills. Survival quietly transforms into rarity, and rarity writes the future. Another important topic is grading evolution. As grading standards tighten over the years, coins once considered top tier may no longer qualify. That means a coin graded at the absolute pinnacle today could remain elite indefinitely. Collectors often pay extraordinary premiums for that security. Let's explore the economics for a moment. Coins operate within a fascinating marketplace where traditional financial rules sometimes bend. Unlike stocks, coins are tangible. You can hold them, study them, pass them down through generations. They are portable stores of history. During uncertain economic periods, collectibles sometimes attract increased attention because they feel permanent, immune to digital outages or market crashes. Now imagine a scenario where modern coins begin gaining renewed appreciation as artifacts of a pre-cashless society. Suddenly, early 21st century coins like the 2018 D penny could carry cultural weight far beyond their metal content. Future collectors might view them the way we view early 1900s coins today, as relics from another era. And here is something truly fascinating: the story behind a coin can amplify its value dramatically. If a particular 2018 D penny were discovered in an unusual way, perhaps found inside an unopened bank vault roll decades later, that narrative alone could captivate buyers. Humans love stories. A coin with a story feels alive. Now let's talk about coin roll hunting, a practice that has exploded in popularity. Enthusiasts obtain boxes of pennies from banks and methodically search through thousands of coins looking for varieties, errors, and high-grade pieces. It requires patience bordering on obsession, but every search carries possibility, because treasure does not announce itself, it hides, and sometimes it hides in plain sight. The sound of copper coins sliding across a table, the flash of red under a lamp, the pause when something looks different. These are the small moments collectors cherish. Over time, skill replaces luck. The more coins you examine, the faster you recognize quality. Your brain begins filtering details automatically. That is when discoveries start happening. Now imagine pulling a coin from a roll that gleams brighter than anything around it. You tilt it under the light, flawless. No chatter marks. No discoloration. The shield lines stand out boldly. Your heartbeat quickens. Could this be one of the finest known examples? That single question is enough to send a collector straight to a grading service, because confirmation changes everything. Let's also consider the role of technology in authentication. Modern grading companies use high-resolution imaging, laser measurements, and sophisticated databases to ensure accuracy. Counterfeiting a coin at the microscopic level is extraordinarily difficult. This technological confidence encourages high-end buyers to participate without fear, and where confident buyers gather, strong prices often follow. Another intriguing dimension is generational transfer. Many collectors eventually pass their coins to children or grandchildren. Imagine inheriting a collection decades from now and discovering a perfectly preserved 2018 D penny inside. Now let us step even deeper into the unfolding mystery of the 2018 D Lincoln cent, because what truly transforms a coin from everyday currency into an object of intense desire is often something invisible at first glance: momentum. Momentum inside the collector market is a powerful force, almost like a rising tide that slowly lifts certain coins into prominence while others remain quietly overlooked. To understand how this happens, picture the life cycle of a collectible coin as if it were following a long arc through time. At the beginning, the coin is simply money. It moves from hand to hand with no special recognition. Years pass. Gradually, collectors begin noticing subtle differences, exceptional strike quality, unusually vibrant luster, or perhaps a small group of specimens that seem superior to the rest. Whispers begin inside the numismatic community, dealers talk, collectors compare notes, photos circulate online. Then one day, a pristine 2018 penny appears at a major grading service and earns a near-perfect grade. Suddenly, it is no longer just another modern coin, it becomes a benchmark. Benchmark coins change perception. Once a standard is established, everyone begins searching for another example that might match or exceed it. This is how dormant markets awaken. Now imagine the electricity surrounding a major auction where such a coin is about to be sold. Weeks before the event, high-resolution images are released. Every microscopic detail is analyzed by experts. Forums buzz with speculation. Some believe the coin could set a record for a modern Lincoln cent. Collectors mark their calendars. When auction day finally arrives, anticipation fills the air. Whether in a grand hall or across digital bidding platforms, participants lean forward, waiting for the first call. The auctioneer begins. The opening number is already far beyond 1 cent, perhaps hundreds, maybe thousands. Hands raise. Online bids flash instantly. Within seconds, the price doubles. Why? Because elite collectors understand something crucial: opportunities like this are rare. If they hesitate, the coin could disappear into another collection for decades. Bidding accelerates, the numbers climb so fast that spectators can barely follow. At a certain point, logic gives way to determination. Two bidders remain, each unwilling to surrender. This is where records are born, not just from rarity, but from human resolve. When the hammer finally falls, applause often follows. A modern penny has crossed into legendary territory, and the ripple effect begins immediately. After a headline-making sale, collectors everywhere start rechecking their coins. Bankrolls are opened. Old mint sets are revisited. Dealers scan inventory with renewed urgency, because if one extraordinary 2018 penny exists, could there be another? This phenomenon is sometimes called the treasure echo. One discovery triggers thousands of searches. Now let's talk about another fascinating driver of value: visual perfection. Human beings are naturally drawn to symmetry and brilliance. A coin with immaculate surfaces almost feels unreal, like a tiny mirror reflecting light without interruption. Experts often rotate coins slowly under a lamp, watching how the glow travels across the fields. If the light flows smoothly, without breaking on scratches or marks, it signals remarkable preservation. Such coins possess what collectors call flash. Flash stops people in their tracks, but perfection is fragile. The moment a coin slides against another, microscopic abrasions can appear. Even the soft fabric of a pocket can dull the surface over time. This is why many of the finest coins are those that were protected immediately after minting. Some may have been stored in climate-controlled safes. Others might have remained sealed inside original bank packaging, untouched for years. Think about the discipline required not to open such rolls out of curiosity. Yet those who resist often become the ones who unveil treasures later. Patience, in the world of coin collecting, is frequently rewarded. Now consider the role of modern communication. Decades ago, a rare coin might remain unknown except to a small circle of specialists. Today, information travels globally within minutes. A remarkable 2018 penny photographed under magnification can be viewed by collectors on multiple continents almost instantly. This global visibility expands the buyer pool dramatically. More eyes mean more potential bidders. More bidders mean stronger prices. It is a simple equation, yet incredibly powerful. Another factor quietly shaping the future of coins like the 2018 penny is the gradual cultural shift away from physical currency. As societies move toward digital payments, coins may become less common in everyday life, and something interesting happens when objects disappear from routine use. They gain nostalgia. People begin remembering the sound of coins clinking together, the ritual of counting change, the childhood excitement of filling a piggy bank. Items once considered ordinary transform into symbols of another time. Nostalgia can ignite entire collectible markets. Future generations might look at early 21st century coins with the same curiosity we feel toward artifacts from a century ago. Now imagine a young collector decades from now holding a flawless 2018 penny and thinking, this survived from the era when people still carried cash. Suddenly, the coin is more than metal. It is a survivor. Let's also explore the psychology of ownership. Elite collectors often pursue not just rarity, but distinction, the pride of possessing something few others will ever touch. When a coin ranks among the finest known, it carries a quiet prestige. Owning it becomes a statement. A reflection of dedication, expertise, and sometimes lifelong passion. Many collectors describe their coins almost as companions on a journey rather than mere investments, and unlike digital assets, coins exist physically. You can hold them, study them under light, and feel their weight, that precise 2.5 grams connecting you directly to the moment of minting. There is something profoundly grounding about that tangibility. Now let's imagine a dramatic scenario. Suppose a previously unknown mint error emerges on a 2018 D penny, something spectacular, perhaps a major doubled design combined with an off-center strike. Experts confirm its authenticity. News spreads quickly through numismatic channels. Collectors react instantly because discoveries rewrite expectations. The price ceiling that once seemed impossible suddenly feels reachable. Markets thrive on possibility, and every groundbreaking coin expands what people believe could happen next. But here is an important truth: not every valuable coin is discovered immediately. Some remain hidden for decades, quietly waiting inside collections whose owners never realized what they possessed. Estate sales have revealed astonishing treasures before coins purchased for face value that later sold for fortunes. Now let us continue even further into the extraordinary narrative of the 2018 D Lincoln cent, because the deeper we travel into the world of coin collecting, the more we begin to understand that value is rarely about chance alone. Instead, it is about convergence, the moment when rarity, timing, preservation, collector demand, and historical context all align to elevate a simple object into something unforgettable. There is a quiet transformation that happens to coins over time, and most people never notice it. The day a coin is minted, it is identical in purpose to millions or even billions of others. It enters circulation anonymously. No ceremony. No spotlight. Just another unit of commerce designed to facilitate everyday transactions. Yet the clock begins ticking immediately. From the very first second after leaving the press, that coin starts separating from the pack. Some will be damaged within hours. Others will suffer scratches during transportation. Many will lose their original shine within weeks as oils from human skin begin reacting with the copper surface. But a tiny fraction, almost unbelievably small, will escape harm. Those are the coins that collectors dream about. Imagine the controlled chaos inside the Denver Mint in 2018. Massive machines humming with mechanical precision, conveyor belts guiding fresh pennies into large storage bins, thousands of coins sliding against one another in a metallic cascade. Even in such a carefully engineered environment, contact marks are nearly unavoidable. That is why a truly pristine coin feels almost miraculous. It survived the minting process. It survived transport. It survived distribution. It survived human handling, or perhaps avoided it entirely. Survival, in the collector universe, is the first ingredient of greatness. Now let's talk about something both subtle and powerful: the passage of decades. Many people assume that only ancient coins gain value, but modern coins often follow a fascinating pattern. For years, they remain overlooked because they feel too recent to matter. Collectors focus on older pieces instead. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, the supply of untouched examples begins shrinking. People spend them, lose them, damage them, forget them, and without anyone announcing it, scarcity begins forming. One day, collectors look up and realize that finding a flawless specimen has become incredibly difficult. That realization can change everything. The 2018 D penny sits in a particularly interesting position within this timeline. It belongs to an era when fewer people used cash regularly, yet even fewer people saved brand new pennies intentionally. This creates a paradox: high mintage combined with low preservation awareness. If future collectors may discover that locating a perfect example is far harder than the original production numbers ever suggested. Now imagine a scenario 30 or 40 years from now. A grading report shows only a handful of coins achieving an elite level of preservation. Perhaps just a few dozen remain in blazing red condition with virtually no imperfections. Suddenly, the coin enters a new category: condition rarity of the highest order, and condition rarity commands attention. Let's explore another dimension that often pushes coins toward extraordinary valuations: generational turnover. As older collections pass into new hands, coins that were once hidden re-enter the marketplace. Sometimes heirs have no idea what they possess. Stories abound of jars filled with pennies discovered in attics, closets, or safe deposit boxes. Most contain ordinary pieces, but occasionally, hidden among them is a coin so well preserved that experts are stunned. Picture a family sorting through inherited belongings. They notice a roll labeled 2018D, do not spend. Curiosity leads them to open it. Inside, the coins gleam as if frozen in time. Point 1 is submitted for grading, the result comes back astonishingly high. News spreads quickly, collectors begin recalibrating their expectations overnight. Moments like these reshape markets. Now let's shift toward the emotional gravity that coins accumulate over time. Objects that physically pass through history gain a kind of silent authority. Think about it, this penny existed during a period of rapid technological advancement, global change, and evolving economic systems. Long after digital payment platforms evolve into forms we cannot yet imagine, the small copper-colored disc will remain tangible proof of how commerce once functioned. Future historians may examine everyday coins to understand cultural priorities, artistic trends, and manufacturing capabilities of the early 21st century. Coins are, in many ways, miniature historical documents, and unlike paper records, they do not decay easily. Another force that can propel value upward is the concept of the finest known example. Collectors are deeply motivated by superlatives: best preserved, sharpest strike, most vibrant color. When a coin earns recognition as one of the absolute finest, it enters a league where comparison becomes almost irrelevant. There is only one top position. Competition for that position can become fierce beyond imagination. Now consider the psychological aspect of auctions again, but from a more personal angle. Imagine a collector who has spent decades building the ultimate Lincoln cent set. Every slot is filled with extraordinary pieces, except one. The 2018D remains slightly inferior to their standards. Then suddenly, the perfect coin appears for sale. To an outside observer, paying an enormous sum for a penny might seem irrational. But to that collector, it represents completion, the final piece of a lifelong pursuit. Completion has emotional value that numbers alone cannot measure. When emotion enters bidding, ceilings often shatter. Let's also talk about visual aging, because copper behaves differently than many metals. Over time, oxidation gradually transforms that fiery red color into deeper shades. While this process is natural, it means that untouched red coins steadily become rarer. Imagine looking at a group of pennies decades from now and seeing mostly brown tones, and then one coin blazing with original color like a tiny sunset. Your eyes would go straight to it. Collectors crave that visual impact. Now think about technological advancements in grading. As imaging tools become even more sophisticated, future experts may evaluate coins with microscopic precision far beyond today's capabilities. Coins that meet those advanced standards could achieve legendary status simply because they surpass evolving expectations. Perfection, after all, is a moving target. Another fascinating possibility lies in dramatic mint anomalies that remain undiscovered. It is entirely plausible that somewhere, unnoticed, a 2018D penny exists with an error so unusual that it has yet to be documented. History has shown this repeatedly, coins appearing decades later that rewrite what experts believed was possible. Imagine the excitement if such a discovery occurred. Forums would ignite with discussion, dealers would scramble for information. Collectors would begin searching every roll they could find. The coin would transition instantly from curiosity to sensation, and once a coin becomes a sensation, value often follows with breathtaking speed. But beyond the financial dimension lies something deeper: the human instinct to search. Treasure hunting is woven into our psychology. Whether it is explorers crossing oceans or collectors scanning pocket change, the thrill comes from possibility. The idea that something extraordinary might be hiding in plain sight is almost irresistible. Now pause and picture a quiet evening. A collector sits at a desk, a small lamp illuminating rows of pennies. One by one, the coins are examined. Most pass quickly. Then suddenly, one stops the motion. It shines differently, the surfaces look untouched. Even before magnification, instinct whispers that this coin is special. Moments like that are unforgettable. They remind us that discovery is still alive in a world that sometimes feels fully explored. Another powerful trend shaping the future is the growing popularity of modern coin collecting among younger generations. As new collectors enter the hobby, they often gravitate toward coins from their own lifetime. Familiar dates feel personal. That personal connection fuels demand, and demand, sustained over decades, builds markets capable of surprising even seasoned experts. Let us also consider how rarity is sometimes recognized only in hindsight. As we continue this deep exploration into the story of the 2018D Lincoln cent, it becomes increasingly clear that coins are far more than currency. They are silent travelers through time. Every coin begins its life in a moment of precision and mechanical force, yet its true identity is shaped slowly, year after year, as history moves forward around it. One of the most fascinating aspects of modern coins like the 2018D penny is that we are still living in their early chapter. Unlike ancient coins whose stories feel complete, this coin is still writing its legacy. Right now, millions may still exist, but the number that will survive untouched for the next 50 or 75 years is already being determined by everyday accidents, drops onto concrete, exposure to rainwater, friction inside counting machines, and even simple neglect. Destruction is constant, preservation is rare. And rarity is the foundation upon which great coin values are built. Let's slow down for a moment and imagine the exact instant a brand new 2018 D penny falls from the minting press. The metal is still bright, its surface is glowing with that unmistakable copper-red brilliance. Under intense factory lighting, the coin looks almost flawless, its details razor-sharp, Lincoln's profile strong, the Union shield crisp and symmetrical. Now imagine two different paths unfolding from that moment. The first coin is scooped into a large bin with thousands of others. During transport, the coins slide violently against one another, producing tiny nicks known as bag marks. By the time the coin reaches circulation, it already carries microscopic scars. Within weeks, it loses its original shine. Within years, it becomes just another worn penny. But the second coin follows a very different destiny. Perhaps a mint worker sets aside a roll. Maybe a careful collector visits a bank and requests fresh boxes of cents. The roll is opened gently. The collector notices the vibrant color immediately, the deep, luminous red that signals minimal exposure to air. Instead of spending it, the coin is placed inside a protective holder. Darkness shields it from ultraviolet light, stable temperatures prevent chemical reactions. Decades pass. When the coin finally emerges again, it looks astonishing, almost frozen in the year it was born. Collectors sometimes refer to such pieces as time travelers, because they appear untouched by the decades that transformed everything else. Now here is where the story becomes even more compelling. The longer a pristine coin remains hidden, the more shocking its eventual discovery becomes. Imagine experts examining it under magnification and realizing they are looking at one of the finest survivors known. That realization alone can electrify the collecting community, because perfection does not just attract attention, it commands it. Let's talk about light for a moment, because experienced collectors understand that lighting reveals truth. A coin might look ordinary at first glance, but tilt it under a single focused beam, and suddenly the surface comes alive. Luster begins to rotate like a wheel, a phenomenon often called the cartwheel effect. When that cartwheel flows smoothly without interruption, it signals an undisturbed surface. Collectors chase that effect relentlessly. It is visual proof of originality. Originality, in the coin world, is sacred. Now consider something that many people overlook. Modern coins may actually face a higher risk of disappearance than older ones. Why? Because previous generations often saved coins deliberately, believing they might become valuable someday. Today, fewer people think that way about pennies. Many are discarded casually or left behind because their face value feels insignificant. Yet history has a habit of rewarding what others ignore. There is a quiet irony here. The very coin people consider nearly worthless could become extraordinarily difficult to locate in flawless condition, and difficulty fuels demand. Another powerful force shaping the future of the 2018 D penny is population compression. This happens gradually as top-grade coins are absorbed into long-term collections. Once there, they may not reappear for decades. When supply tightens like this, even a small surge in collector interest can send prices upward with surprising speed. Picture a future moment when only a handful of near-perfect examples are available for purchase worldwide. Suddenly, collectors who once hesitated begin acting decisively because hesitation, in rare markets, often leads to regret. Let's also explore the emotional resonance of holding a coin that has outlived its era. Imagine it is the year 2070. Physical coins are rarely used anymore. Most transactions happen through technologies that feel almost invisible. Then someone places a 2018 D penny in your hand. You feel its weight, just 2.5 grams, yet dense with memory. You see Abraham Lincoln, a figure already centuries removed from the present. You realize this coin existed during a time when people still carried change in their pockets. In that instant, the penny transforms into a bridge between worlds. Objects that connect eras carry a special kind of gravity. Now let's talk about the unpredictability of collector trends. Markets are not static, they evolve alongside culture. A single documentary, a viral story, or a record-breaking auction can ignite interest in an entire category almost overnight. Imagine headlines announcing that a spectacular 2018 D-era penny shattered expectations at auction. Even people who have never examined a coin closely might suddenly start checking their change. Search activity would explode. Coin shops would see new faces walking through their doors. Demand would ripple outward. This is how collecting waves begin, not gradually, but
Suddenly, and once momentum builds, it often feeds itself. Another fascinating aspect is the psychology of the hunt. Humans are wired to search for hidden rewards. Whether it is buried treasure or a rare coin mixed among ordinary ones, the possibility alone triggers excitement. The beauty of pennies is accessibility. Unlike treasures locked inside museums, these coins still circulate in everyday life. Anyone, regardless of age or wealth, can participate in the search. All it takes is curiosity and patience. Imagine a young collector receiving a handful of change and deciding, almost on a whim, to inspect each coin. Years later, that simple habit might lead to a discovery others overlooked entirely. Small routines often lead to extraordinary outcomes. Now consider the craftsmanship again. The Lincoln portrait has endured for over a century, making it one of the most recognized images in American coinage. Generations have grown up seeing that profile without fully noticing it, yet familiarity does not diminish significance. If anything, it strengthens it, because designs that persist across time become cultural anchors. The Union Shield on the reverse carries equal symbolism: unity, strength, resilience. Even as societies change, those ideals remain deeply relevant. Coins quietly reinforce national identity in ways few objects can. Let's imagine another dramatic scenario. Decades from now, a collector uncovers an untouched original bank box labeled 2018D. Inside are rolls never opened, never searched. When graded, several coins achieve astonishingly high marks. The numismatic world reacts instantly. Articles are written, experts debate their standing. Collectors compete to secure one. Moments like these remind us that history is not always buried, sometimes it is simply waiting to be noticed. And perhaps the most thrilling truth of all is this: somewhere, right now, the next legendary 2018D penny may already exist. Maybe it rests inside a forgotten piggy bank, maybe it sits in a cash register tray, maybe it was handed to someone this morning who never thought twice about it. The distance between ordinary and extraordinary can be incredibly small, sometimes no thicker than a layer of copper. As decades continue to pass, the narrative surrounding this coin will only grow richer. Survival rates will drop. High-grade populations will stabilize. Collector demand will evolve. Eventually, the question will no longer be whether pristine examples are valuable, the question will be how valuable, because once a coin crosses the threshold from common to scarce, perception changes permanently, and perception is one of the strongest currencies in the collecting world. So remember this whenever you encounter a penny: what appears insignificant today may one day represent a vanished era. Coins have a remarkable way of outlasting assumptions. They wait quietly while the world rushes forward. They gather history without asking for attention, and then, at just the right moment, they remind us that even the smallest objects can carry immense importance. Now, as we move deeper into the unfolding legacy of the 2018D Lincoln cent, it is time to explore one of the most powerful truths in the world of rare coins: true value is often invisible until enough time has passed for perspective to sharpen. When a coin is new, it is surrounded by millions of identical companions. Nothing about it feels scarce. Nothing about it feels historic. It is simply part of the present, but time has a remarkable way of transforming the present into the past, and once something becomes part of the past, people begin to see it differently. The 2018D penny exists at a fascinating crossroads in monetary history. It was produced during an era when physical currency was still widely recognized, yet digital transactions were rapidly reshaping how humans exchanged value. This places the coin in what future historians may describe as a transitional age, the bridge between traditional money and fully electronic economies. Objects born during transitions often gain significance later because they represent change itself. Imagine holding this penny 50 or even 100 years from now. The world will almost certainly look dramatically different. Technologies will evolve beyond today's imagination. Entire financial systems may operate in ways that feel almost invisible compared to the physical exchange of coins, yet this small disc of copper-plated zinc will remain tangible. You will be able to feel its edge, see Lincoln's profile, trace the lines of the Union Shield. In that moment, the coin becomes more than currency, it becomes evidence that people once relied on physical money for daily life. Evidence of craftsmanship from another era, evidence of continuity stretching across centuries. Now let's explore an idea that seasoned collectors understand deeply: the greatest rarities are not always created intentionally. Sometimes they emerge quietly through what experts call attrition, the slow, relentless reduction in surviving examples. Every year, coins disappear. Some are dropped into storm drains. Others are damaged beyond recognition. Many are melted accidentally when scrap metal is processed.
Countless more simply vanish into places they will never be recovered from. This silent thinning happens without headlines, without announcements, yet decade after decade, it reshapes the landscape of availability. Think of it like a forest gradually becoming sparse until one day people notice that the tallest trees are incredibly hard to find. The same phenomenon applies to pristine coins. Now imagine that only a tiny fraction of 2018 pennies will survive into the next century with their original red brilliance intact. When collectors of the future begin searching for such coins, they may discover that supply is astonishingly limited, and whenever desire exceeds supply, markets respond. But there is another dimension even more fascinating than scarcity, and that is the human relationship with discovery. The thrill of finding something rare triggers a powerful emotional response. Heart rate increases. Focus sharpens. Time seems to pause. Collectors often describe these moments with vivid clarity. Even decades later, picture someone opening an old storage box inherited from a relative. Inside are coin rolls wrapped in faded paper. Most appear ordinary. Then one roll reveals pennies glowing with unexpected brightness. The surfaces look untouched, the color is deep and vibrant. Under magnification, the details appear nearly flawless. At first, disbelief sets in. Could these really have survived this long? When confirmation arrives from a grading service, excitement spreads quickly. Experts begin discussing the coins. Population reports adjust. Suddenly, what was hidden becomes a focal point for the entire collecting community. Discoveries like this do more than create value, they energize the hobby itself, because every collector watching that story unfold begins wondering the same thing: could another treasure still be out there? This question fuels endless searches through bankrolls, estate collections, forgotten jars, and antique safes. Hope is one of the strongest currencies in numismatics. Now let's step into the atmosphere of a major coin convention sometime in the future. Glass cases stretch across a vast hall, each illuminated to reveal pieces of extraordinary preservation. Collectors move slowly from table to table, studying reflections under pinpoint lighting. At one display, a small crowd gathers. Inside the case rests a nearly perfect 2018 Lincoln cent, its luster swirling like liquid copper when tilted. Even among rare gold coins and historic silver pieces, it commands attention. Why? Because perfection is timeless. Age alone does not define greatness. A coin can be modern yet still represent the absolute pinnacle of preservation, and when humans encounter something close to perfection, they instinctively pause. Now consider another powerful force shaping the destiny of coins: storytelling. People are drawn not only to rarity but to narrative. A coin discovered in an unexpected place, preserved against the odds, or recognized as one of the finest known gains an almost mythic quality. Stories travel quickly, collectors repeat them, writers document them, auctions highlight them. Over time, the coin becomes part of hobby folklore, and folklore has a way of amplifying desirability far beyond technical specifications. Let's imagine that decades from now, one particular 2018 penny becomes famous for its extraordinary grade and unmatched eye appeal. Perhaps it sets a record at auction, shocking even seasoned experts. From that moment forward, it is no longer just a coin, it is a reference point. Future listings compare themselves to it, collectors speak of it with respect, its image appears in books and presentations. This is how legends form, gradually. Then suddenly another aspect worth understanding is the evolution of collector demographics. Every generation brings new perspectives and priorities. Younger collectors often gravitate toward coins that feel relatable, pieces minted within their own lifetime or their parents' era. The 2018 penny fits perfectly into this pattern. As these collectors mature and their purchasing power grows, demand for high-quality examples may strengthen dramatically. Markets often follow generational emotion more than pure logic. Now pause and think about the symbolism carried by Abraham Lincoln's portrait. For over a century, his image has represented resilience, leadership, and unity. Designs that endure across generations accumulate cultural weight. Even people who know little about coins recognize Lincoln instantly. Familiarity creates connection, connection creates attachment, and attachment supports long-term desirability. Let us also reflect on the tactile experience of coins, something digital assets can never replicate. There is a unique sensation in holding a perfectly preserved penny, rotating it slowly, watching light dance across untouched surfaces. It is a quiet interaction, almost meditative. In a world increasingly dominated by screens, physical objects with history may feel even more meaningful. Now imagine a collector many decades from today showing a young enthusiast a flawless 2018 penny. This, they might say, is what original mint luster looked like in the early 2000s. The younger collector leans closer, fascinated by the glow.eye. In that moment, knowledge passes from one generation to another, coins become teachers. Another fascinating possibility lies in the unexpected discovery of varieties, subtle differences in lettering, spacing, or die characteristics that were never widely documented. Sometimes these details remain unnoticed for years until sharp-eyed collectors identify patterns. When a new variety is confirmed, excitement spreads instantly.
Checklists expand.
Demand rises, the ordinary becomes extraordinary overnight. History reminds us again and again that surprises are inevitable in the coin world, but perhaps the most profound truth is this: coins reward attention. Those who slow down enough to observe details often see opportunities others miss entirely. The world moves quickly, coins do not. They wait patiently for someone curious enough to look closer, and somewhere, at this very moment, a remarkable 2018 penny may already exist, resting quietly, its potential unrealized, its future unwritten. Maybe decades from now it will appear under auction lights,
dazzling collectors with its preservation.
People will wonder how it survived so perfectly when so many others did not. They will call it extraordinary. Yet today, now we step even further into the future-facing mystery of the 2018 Lincoln cent, because to truly understand how a modern penny could someday command astonishing attention, we must explore one of the most powerful forces in the collectible universe: inevitability. Not inevitability in the sense that every coin becomes valuable, but inevitability in the quiet mathematical reality that as time moves forward, the number of exceptional survivors can only decrease. No matter how many billions were struck, perfection is fragile. Every second that passes exposes coins to risk: friction, corrosion, environmental damage, human carelessness.
The world is not designed to preserve pennies.
It is designed to use them, and usage slowly erases excellence. Think about the simple act of a coin sliding across a counter. That tiny motion can create hairline marks invisible to the naked eye yet obvious under magnification. Multiply that by thousands of interactions, and suddenly the once flawless surface begins losing its original character. And now imagine the opposite: a coin that somehow avoids all of it. No contact, no moisture, no mishandling, just stillness. Stillness is the guardian of perfection. Collectors understand this deeply,
which is why coins that appear untouched decades after minting can trigger such intense excitement.
They defy probability. They feel almost impossible. Let's pause and visualize a moment far into the future, perhaps the year 2085. A collector opens a climate-controlled vault and removes a small protective slab. Inside rests a 2018 penny with blazing red color that looks shockingly alive, as if it were struck only yesterday. The cartwheel luster spins effortlessly beneath the light. Lincoln's portrait is razor-sharp, the Union shield lines are bold and uninterrupted. Experts gather around, studying it carefully. Someone whispers that coins preserved at this level have become nearly non-existent, and in that instant, the coin transcends its denomination completely. It is no longer a penny. It is a survivor. Survival carries emotional weight because it represents endurance against overwhelming odds. Now let's explore another fascinating concept: perspective compression. When people look backward through history, decades often feel shorter than they actually were.
What seems modern today will one day feel distant. Consider how we currently view coins from the 1960s or 1970s.
They no longer feel recent, they feel historical.
The same transformation will inevitably happen to coins from 2018. Future collectors will not see them as new.
They will see them as artifacts from an earlier chapter of civilization, and artifacts invite reverence. Another powerful driver of long-term value is the shift from abundance to selectivity. Early in a coin's life, collectors can afford to be casual because examples appear everywhere.
But as availability tightens, standards rise. Collectors stop asking, "Do I have one?" They start asking, "Do I have the best one?"
This subtle change in mindset reshapes markets dramatically, because when buyers pursue superiority rather than mere ownership, competition intensifies. Let's imagine a registry collector decades from now striving to assemble the most flawless Lincoln cent collection ever documented. Every coin in the set represents the highest known quality, except one slot where the 2018 still falls slightly short. Then suddenly, an extraordinary specimen emerges. For that collector, hesitation is not an option, completion is within reach, and completion has a gravitational pull that logic alone cannot resist. Now picture the auction atmosphere again, but this time in a world where pristine early 21st century coins have become legendary.
The bidding opens strong.
Within moments, numbers leap beyond expectations. Observers watch in amazement as a coin once worth a single cent commands the kind of attention typically reserved for historic rarities. Why does this happen? Because humans assign meaning to survival. The fewer examples that remain untouched, the more symbolic they become. Let's talk about symbolism for a moment.
The Lincoln cent is not merely a unit of currency, it represents continuity stretching back to 1909.
Few designs in the world have endured so long with such consistency. When you hold a 2018 D penny, you are holding a descendant of more than a century of minting tradition. That lineage matters. Collectors respect continuity because it ties generations together. Imagine a family collector passing down a pristine 2018 D penny along with older Lincoln cents from the early 1900s. When viewed side by side, the progression becomes tangible, a visual timeline told through metal objects that illustrate time so clearly often gain cultural importance beyond their material composition. Now consider another intriguing possibility: the eventual disappearance of the penny from everyday commerce.
Discussions about eliminating low-denomination coins have surfaced repeatedly over the years.
If such a change ever becomes permanent, surviving cents could transform overnight from active currency into historical relics. When an object stops being produced, nostalgia accelerates. People begin remembering the sound pennies made when dropped into a jar, the childhood excitement of counting coins, the ritual of exact change.
Memory fuels markets in ways spreadsheets cannot predict. Let's shift our focus toward technological evolution again.
Future grading techniques may analyze coins at atomic levels, identifying preservation qualities impossible to measure today. Coins that meet those advanced criteria could stand alone at the top, their reputation strengthened by scientific validation. Imagine a report stating that only a microscopic number of 2018 D pennies remain with fully intact original surfaces. Such a revelation would ripple through the collecting world instantly, because data transforms curiosity into certainty.
Another dimension shaping future desirability is educational awareness.
As information becomes easier to access, more people learn how to identify exceptional coins. Ironically, this can make top examples harder to acquire, because fewer slip by unnoticed. Knowledge sharpens competition, competition strengthens value, but perhaps the most mesmerizing aspect of coin collecting is unpredictability. Again and again, history has demonstrated that markets can awaken suddenly. A single discovery, a record-setting sale, or even renewed media attention can ignite global interest. Picture headlines announcing that a remarkable 2018 D-era coin stunned experts by achieving a price few thought possible. Almost overnight, people everywhere begin checking their change. Banks receive requests for penny rolls, old jars are opened, drawers are searched. The hunt spreads like wildfire. And hunts carry energy, the kind that keeps hobbies alive for generations. Now let's slow down and
reflect on something simple yet profound. Coins teach patience. Unlike fast-moving financial assets, their stories unfold gradually.
Years pass quietly before recognition arrives, but when it does, it often feels dramatic, because rarity rarely announces itself early. It reveals itself slowly, then all at once. Imagine someone decades from now recalling the moment they nearly spent a flawless 2018 D penny without looking. That near miss becomes part of the coin's personal legend, proof that extraordinary things can hide within ordinary routines. Awareness is often the only difference between spending history and preserving it, and this leads us to one of the most beautiful truths in numismatics: greatness is not always about size, gold content, or ancient origin. Sometimes greatness lives inside the smallest coin in your pocket. A single gram-scale object capable of carrying generations of narrative. As time continues its unstoppable march forward, more 2018 D pennies will fade into obscurity.
Surfaces will darken. Details will soften.
Numbers will shrink, yet somewhere, protected from chaos, a few will remain almost exactly as they were on the day they were struck. Those coins will feel less like money and more like messages sent through time, messages reminding future collectors that preservation is powerful, that attention matters, that history often survives by the narrowest margins imaginable. So whenever you encounter a penny,
remember that you are holding more than metal.
You are holding possibility, the possibility that decades from now, someone might look at that very coin with awe. Now we arrive at a stage in the journey where the story of the 2018 D Lincoln cent begins to feel less like speculation and more like destiny unfolding in slow motion. Because when we study the life cycle of collectible objects across history, one pattern becomes unmistakably clear: the coins people ignore today often become the ones future generations search for with relentless determination. It is almost paradoxical: the more ordinary something appears in its own time, the more astonishing it can seem later. Right now,
most people would not bend down to pick up a penny from the ground.
Some even leave them behind at cash registers because carrying them feels inconvenient. That behavior, repeated millions of times, quietly shapes the future rarity of surviving coins. Neglect is one of the greatest creators of scarcity, and scarcity, when finally recognized, has the power to transform perception overnight. Let's imagine a moment many decades ahead. A major numismatic publication releases an updated survival study estimating how few high-grade 2018 pennies remain. Experts are surprised by the data. Despite the enormous original mintage, the number of coins preserved with flawless red surfaces is shockingly low. Collectors react immediately. Some feel excitement, others feel regret, because regret is deeply woven into the fabric of coin collecting. Regret for the coins once spent, overlooked, or mishandled before their importance was understood. Almost every seasoned collector carries at least one memory of the coin that got away. Now picture the atmosphere when a truly elite 2018 penny appears at auction after such a report. The coin is immaculate. Light glides across its surface without interruption. Even under magnification, imperfections seem nearly non-existent. Bidding begins confidently. Within moments, it becomes obvious that this is not an ordinary sale, it is an event. Why do moments like this captivate the collecting world so intensely? Because they validate something collectors have always believed: perfection cannot be mass-produced. It can only be preserved, and preservation is rare. Let's talk about the emotional electricity inside a bidding war. Two collectors remain. Both understand the significance of what sits before them. Both know another opportunity may not appear within their lifetime. Numbers climb higher. Spectators watch silently. The auctioneer's voice grows sharper with each increment. At some point, logic fades and determination takes control. One bidder imagines the coin completing a world-class registry set. The other envisions it as the centerpiece of a lifetime collection. The hammer falls. A record is set, and in that instant, the identity of the 2018 penny shifts again, from modern collectible to benchmark rarity. Benchmarks change how every remaining example is viewed, because once a price ceiling is shattered, the impossible suddenly feels attainable. Now let's step back and examine the deeper psychology behind this transformation. Humans are storytellers by nature. When an object accumulates narrative, survival against the odds, unexpected discovery, record-breaking sale, it becomes larger than itself. Collectors are not merely buying metal, they are buying participation in a story. Imagine future conversations at coin shows. Were you there when the legendary 2018 sold? Do you remember how nobody thought a modern penny could reach that level? Stories like these ripple through decades, inspiring new collectors who were not even born when the coin was minted. That is how legends propagate, not just through rarity, but through memory. Now consider another powerful factor: time separation. When enough years pass, emotional distance forms between people and the era in which an object was created. Everyday items from the past begin to feel exotic. Think about how people today react when they see pristine objects from the early 1900s. There is often a sense of wonder: how did this survive? Who protected it? What world existed when it was new? The same questions will eventually surround coins like the 2018 Future collectors may hold one and imagine the early digital age, the evolving economy, the shifting culture of the late 2010s. The coin becomes a doorway into another time. Objects that evoke imagination tend to hold attention longer. Attention fuels demand, demand sustains value. Let's also talk about the concept of last chance awareness. This phenomenon occurs when collectors collectively realize that opportunities to acquire top examples are disappearing. Suddenly, hesitation feels dangerous, buyers act faster, offers grow stronger, competition intensifies. Markets can accelerate rapidly during this phase, sometimes surprising even veteran observers. Now imagine the emotional weight of holding one of the finest known 2018 pennies generations from now. By then, countless others will have faded into brown obscurity or suffered irreversible damage, yet this one still burns with original color. Its surfaces remain almost exactly as they were the day they left the press. In that moment, the coin represents more than preservation, it represents resistance against time itself. A few things inspire admiration more than endurance. Another fascinating dimension is how rarity reshapes behavior retroactively. Once collectors understand how few pristine coins remain, they begin protecting the examples they already own with extraordinary care. Protective holders improve as storage technology advances, climate control becomes standard, the surviving population stabilizes, but at a dramatically lower number than anyone once imagined, and that smaller number becomes the foundation of future valuation. Now pause and reflect on how extraordinary it is that such significance can reside inside a coin weighing only 2.5 grams. Something so small, so easily overlooked, yet capable of carrying decades of narrative momentum. It reminds us that importance is not measured by size. Let's imagine another scene far ahead in time. A grandchild sits beside a collector who carefully opens a presentation case. Inside rests a glowing 2018 penny. This, the collector says softly, was once just pocket change. The child looks closer, astonished. Moments like this pass knowledge forward. They transform coins into educational artifacts, tangible reminders that history is often hidden inside everyday objects, and perhaps that is one of the greatest joys of numismatics, the realization that treasures do not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes they travel quietly through ordinary life until someone observant recognizes them. Awareness creates discovery, discovery creates legacy. Now let us consider the philosophical side of it all. Coins outlive their creators, their users, even the systems that produce them. Governments change. Economies evolve. Technologies become obsolete, yet coins remain, patient, silent, waiting to be understood by the future. The 2018 Lincoln cent is still early in this journey. Its full story cannot yet be measured because time, the most powerful force in collecting, is still at work somewhere right now. Extraordinary examples almost certainly exist, unnoticed and underestimated. Perhaps they are resting in sealed rolls. Perhaps they sit in forgotten drawers. Perhaps they were saved accidentally by someone who simply liked the shine. One day, those coins will re-emerge, and when they do, people may marvel at how something so common once slipped beneath the world's attention. But here is the most important realization of all: legendary status is rarely recognized in the moment. It is usually a sign later, when hindsight reveals how improbable survival truly was. So the next time you see a penny, remember this: you may be looking at an object whose greatest chapter has not yet been written, because the final transformation of a coin is not just becoming rare, it is becoming remembered. And now we arrive at the final stretch of this remarkable journey, the moment where everything we have explored about the 2018 Lincoln cent comes together in a powerful realization that reaches far beyond metal, beyond minting, and even beyond the concept of money itself, because in the end, the story of this small 1-cent coin is really the story of time. Time is what turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Time is what filters billions down to a precious few. Time is what gives silent objects their voice. Right now, somewhere in the world, countless 2018 pennies continue to circulate unnoticed. They slide across store counters, disappear into vending machines, rest inside jars, and settle into the darkness of forgotten drawers. Most will live short, unremarkable lives before eventually fading away through wear, damage, or loss. But not all of them. A tiny number will escape that fate. A tiny number will be protected, sometimes intentionally by a careful collector, and sometimes completely by accident. Perhaps someone simply liked how bright it looked and set it aside. Perhaps it was sealed away in an untouched bankroll. Perhaps it found its way into a protective holder moments after leaving the mint. Those are the coins that history watches. Those are the survivors quietly waiting for the world to catch up to their significance. When the Denver Mint struck the 2018 Lincoln cent, each coin was produced to a standard weight of approximately 2.5 grams, composed primarily of zinc with a thin outer layer of copper that gives the coin its familiar warm glow. That glow, when perfectly preserved, becomes one of the most mesmerizing sights in modern numismatics. A blazing red surface that seems almost alive under shifting light. Tilt the coin slightly, and a cartwheel effect spins across its face. It is the unmistakable signature of originality. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait stands as it has for generations, calm, thoughtful, enduring. Victor David Brenner's design remains one of the longest-running portraits in American coinage, a tribute not only to a president but to the idea of unity itself. Above Lincoln, the word liberty; before him, the national motto "In God We Trust," and beside him, the small but powerful mint mark, D, identifying its birthplace in Denver. Flip the coin over, and the Union shield commands attention. Introduced in 2010, the shield represents strength through unity, its vertical stripes joined by a single horizontal bar, a visual metaphor for a nation held together despite individual differences. It is remarkable how much symbolism can exist inside something so small, yet symbolism alone does not create value, survival does. Imagine the world several generations from now. By then, the landscape of physical currency may look very different. Digital transactions could dominate daily life. The once familiar jingle of pocket change might become a nostalgic memory rather than a constant sound. Children may grow up rarely handling coins at all, and that shift will matter more than most people realize, because whenever an object disappears from everyday use, the surviving examples begin to feel like artifacts from another age. People become curious about them. They want to hold them, study them, understand them. Curiosity sparks demand, demand awakens markets. Now picture a future collector holding a pristine 2018D penny beneath soft light. Decades have passed, yet the coin looks almost untouched by time. Its color remains vibrant. Its surfaces remain clean. Its details remain razor sharp. The collector pauses, realizing how improbable this level of preservation truly is. Out of billions minted, how many could possibly remain like this? That question is where transformation begins, because the moment rarity becomes undeniable, perception changes forever. What was once dismissed as pocket change becomes a historical survivor, and sometimes, when condition, timing, and demand align, survivors achieve astonishing heights. Numbers that once sounded impossible begin appearing in auction catalogs. Conversations grow louder. Experts lean closer. Headlines spread. Suddenly, the idea of a modern penny commanding extraordinary attention no longer feels unrealistic. It feels inevitable. But here is something important to understand: legendary coins are not created overnight. Their reputations build slowly, layer by layer, year after year. First comes quiet survival, then recognition, then admiration, then pursuit, and finally, reverence. Reverence is the stage where a coin stops being merely collectible and becomes iconic. When collectors speak about it with a certain tone, when its image is instantly recognizable, when owning one feels less like a purchase and more like a privilege. Could a 2018D Lincoln cent ever reach such a level? History has taught us never to underestimate the power of time combined with scarcity. After all, many of today's prized coins were once treated as insignificant. The people who used them could never have imagined the excitement they would someday generate, and that realization carries a quiet lesson: the future is always forming around us, often in places we forget to look. Maybe inside a jar on a kitchen shelf, maybe beneath the lining of an old drawer, maybe resting in a roll that has not been opened since the day it left the bank. Treasure rarely announces itself loudly, or more often, it waits patiently for someone observant enough to notice. So the next time a penny crosses your path, pause for just a second before letting it slip away. Look at it. Notice the date. Notice the mint mark. Notice the shine, because awareness is where every great discovery begins, and even if that particular coin never reaches extraordinary heights, the habit of looking closely connects you to a tradition shared by collectors across generations, a tradition built on curiosity, patience, and the thrill of possibility. That is the true heartbeat of numismatics, not just the coins themselves, but the endless sense that history might be resting quietly in the palm of your hand. The 2018D Lincoln cent reminds us of something profound: greatness does not always arrive wrapped in gold or announced with fanfare. Sometimes it travels invisibly through everyday life, waiting for time to reveal its importance. One day, far in the future, a collector may hold a flawless example and wonder how many people once spent coins like it without a second thought. They may shake their head in disbelief, they may feel the electric excitement of touching a survivor from a distant era, and in that moment, the smallest denomination in American currency will have completed one of the most extraordinary transformations imaginable, from overlooked change to enduring legacy, because ultimately, the value of a coin is not defined by the number stamped upon it. It is defined by the story it carries through time, and the story of the 2018D Lincoln cent is still being written.